Captain, first and last name, and then role and title here with Childersburg Rescue Squad.
Yep. Captain Jim Dennis, Jimdennis. I'm captain of the Childersburg Rescue Squad in Childersburg, Alabama.
So when it comes to, correct me if I'm wrong, you mentioned the other day that I guess roughly in the past 6 months, y'all had to go to 4 cases where 4 people have died from jumping off boats at moving at high speed.
Look at him, okay. I didn't know which way you had it going.
If you wouldn't mind just kind of telling me that and then kind of going through the process of what's going on.
Yes. Last 6 months, we have had 4 drownings that were easily avoidable. They were doing a TikTok challenge. It's where you get a boat going at a high rate of speed. You jump off the side of the boat. You don't dive. You're jumping off feet first, and you just kind of lean into the water. The problem with that is water is the hardest substance known to man, even though it is a fluid. And what we have experienced with the 4 drownings, it broke the neck as soon as they hit the water. And unfortunately, it was on video. Some of them were even recorded with their children in the boat, thinking that they were doing something fun, they were going to put on the internet, and it ended up taking their life. And when you watch the videos in slow frame, you can see their feet hit the water, everything's fine, shoulders and everything, but when it gets to neck, it cannot withstand that impact on the surface, and it basically snaps their neck like you would snap a twig in the forest.
So, just for clarity purposes, so they don't instantly die when this neck breaks, they drowned, or do they die from the neck being broke?
They die from the neck being broke primarily, and everything. But when the neck breaks, you lose all function. You're paralyzed. So even if you are able to breathe, you can't swim back up to the surface because your legs and your arms do not work.
So just kind of give me a rundown of what you can tell me. When were those? Kind of maybe in the recent, like what months maybe those were in, off memory?
Our most recent one was just a couple months ago. It carried actually into the winter months. We've had a pretty mild winter, so people were swimming actually in October. And one drowning was in February. The one in February, he had his 3 small children in the boat, family and friends. There was about 8 or 10 on the boat. And his best friend drove it, his wife recorded it, and unfortunately she recorded his death.
So at least one father, and the other 3 are maybe juveniles, teenagers. What do we think?
It's a wide range. It's from teenagers into, it has been all men in our case, but some women are doing it as well, and it's dangerous. It's just like with TikTok issuing the Tide Pod challenge and everything. It's not a smart thing to do.
So we're in the mix right now of one of the biggest summer holidays. July 4th is tomorrow. You just came out of a huge holiday weekend. Going forward, other holidays are still coming up. Do you expect this? I mean, I know you hadn't seen a couple in a months. Do you expect this to kind of go up, or is that a concern of yours?
It is a very big concern because we have seen this pattern emerge over the last 2 years. And it's sporadic. We'll think it's died down, and then it comes back. I don't know what causes it to come back, but it's something that needs to go away and stay away. There are many things to do to keep your family safe on the water. You can have fun on the water, a lot of fun, and be safe with it. Wear your life vest. If you have children on board 12 and under, state law requires you have a life vest on them at all times. We had this happen just actually last month in Smith Lake, where a 5-year-old drowned with no life vest. Fell off the boat. By the time the boat could turn around, they were under the water. They didn't know exactly where they were, and no life vest. If the child had had a life vest on, they would have floated to the top, could have scooped them up and been okay. But life vest is the best tool for safety and everything. And that also goes hand in hand with the boat operator. The person that's back here operating this boat is, so to speak, the captain of the ship. Anything that goes on in this boat, he's responsible for. And he's responsible for making sure that everybody has their life jackets, there's jackets for everybody, a fire extinguisher that works, and all of the safety features that are needed. And if you don't do those things and then something happens on the water, not only are you at fault, odds are it's family or friends that's on the boat with you, and you have either caused irreparable harm or actually death to them. And to me, that would be very hard to live with.
Very good. Say that.
When it comes to people who may be considering doing this challenge of whatever it is, what's your message to them before they get on the water and try to attempt this?
Do not do it. It's not worth your life. You may survive it. You may have no issue with it. But the very next time you try it, it may be your last. So my message is do not do it. Let me kill that. There we go. Sorry about that. I had it on auto. I forgot.
I got 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
You're good.
Cool. I wanted to ask, what are the victims or the families that you talk to afterwards? I know it's kind of a discrete situation, you told me, but are they saying it's TikTok, or where is it kind of coming from that TikTok could be the culprit?
They see it on TikTok. You can search TikTok right now and find hundreds of videos of this being done, all across the United States, overseas, and I call it a fad, but it's not worth your life. And I don't want to go out on the water and have to hunt someone that has drowned and, off of doing something stupid, and then having to bring them back to their family, and their family having the loss and having to bury them, and children being raised without their parents and stuff. That's, it's preventable.
So my last thing for you is that, bridging off what you just said, it's preventable. It's preventable all day long, but you're still going to have people that's doing it. And
Yes.
so people that may be watching this story, they may have a loved one that does it, and they may be in the boat with them when it happens. I would love for this story to be helpful for them in that situation. What should people do following maybe an incident like this? Obviously get medical attention, but what can you provide that might be helpful for them afterwards?
My thoughts, if you're on a boat and somebody wants to do this, don't let them. If you have to, my opinion, if you have to tackle them and hold them down and get them to shore, do not let them do it, because they may not survive it. It's just like having a loaded gun to your head and playing Russian roulette. The bullet might be in that chamber, it might be in the next one. So my advice is just don't do it, and don't let your loved ones do it. If they talk of doing it, stop them before it gets going. Too often we stay silent because of peer pressure, not wanting to offend somebody, but sometimes you have to offend somebody to save a life. And so if you stop them from doing it, you might be the one that saved their life.
If they do it and they are unresponsive in the water, what's the next step? I know those sometimes you don't really want to fondle those people too much because you don't know what kind of injuries. I mean, what do you recommend? Obviously, call 911. Maybe get back into the boat. What's some of the next steps that people could do?
If you're fortunate enough that they come back to the surface, and again, that is if you're fortunate enough, get them into the boat and head to the nearest facility and everything, a marina or nearest house with a pier and everything, and call 911 and have them meet you there. Don't move them no more than necessary. The biggest thing is getting them medical attention. But at the same time, speed is of the essence. Now, that doesn't mean drive your boat and hit the waves. You try to move as gentle and easy as you can, but as swift as you can. But if you're fortunate enough that they come back up to the surface, get them back in the boat with you. And like I say, again, it's if you're fortunate enough, because most of the time if they jump off and like that and injury does happen, they do not surface. And everything, usually that's the last time you see them. So, you know, you'll be very fortunate. And don't dive off in the water to try to find them. You're not going to find them. Lakes and stuff have undercurrents. The water may look smooth on the surface, but there's currents underneath. You're not going to find them. Drop a marker so that rescue personnel will know where to start. And that sounds kind of backwards, but if we don't know where to start hunting for them, a search can take hours, days even. But if we know where to start, we have a very good chance of getting them very quickly. If we can get them very quickly, there may be a small chance, depending on how close we are, if our boats are already in the water, if rescue personnel is right on hand, there's a slight possibility of being able to save them. But the big thing is to drop that marker. If it's a Coke bottle with a weight on it, whatever, you can mark it with a life jacket, anything.
Can't you do that in your like GPS? Can't you mark coordinates a lot on boats?
You can if you have fish finders. Most boats do. They can hit mark and it'll mark it and it'll give us the coordinates. But a lot of people don't think to use it, and they don't think to use their phone during that as well. So something as simple as tying an anchor to a throw cushion, drop it overboard, it gives us a starting point, and we can find them. That helps us tremendously. It shortens the search, and we can bring your loved one home.